The Crispa Radmanizers, the San Miguel Beermen, were the trailblazers of historic Grand Slam years in Philippine basketball. But in 1996, powered by names like Lastimosa, Abarientos, just to name a few, and coached by Tim Cohn, the Stars finally aligned for Alaska to capture the PBA's fourth Grand Slam title. This is Lourdes Vera traveling back to the year 1996 with the cream of the PBA crop was the Alaska Milkmen. And this is your Basketball Almanac.
Jeffrey Moore asking for the ball. Terrific struggle for the rebound between Jaworski and Jeffrey Moore. Jaworski bleeding from the mouth.
But if there's a dead ball situation, now they can call for a 30-second injury timeout.
With 14 trophies, Alaska is tied for the second most championships in PBA history. But a lot of the franchise's success can be traced back to 1996, when the Milkmen, after winning just 3 titles in 10 years, whipped up an incredible season to capture that rare Grand Slam.
Alaska Milk wins the Governor's Cup for 1996.
And it is now in the history books as only the third franchise in PBA history to capture a Grand Slam.
Unlike the last team that won a Grand Slam, this Alaska squad did not rely on a blockbuster trade to get its campaign going. Instead, the Milkmen stuck with a core that struggled and grew together for a couple of seasons. The crown jewels were Johnny Abarientos, Jojo Lastimosa, and Bong Hawkins. Lastimosa had been with the franchise since 1991. Hawkins was acquired 2 seasons later when the Milkmen traded a disgruntled Bong Alvarez to Santa Lucia. Abarientos also came in 1993 when Alaska snagged the 5'7" guard out of Far Eastern University with the 3rd overall pick.
So yung grupo namin in 96, I would say na it was very rare to have a group of guys that understand each other kung anong trabaho namin, and we were very professional. Pupunta kami sa practice, we were ready to practice. We were all very disciplined, and walang hindi isang player doon na kailangan hatakin mo talaga siya, na kailangan mong bantayan, wala. Hindi isa. You only get chemistry if you have a group of guys that understands each other. They understand each other, yung mga roles nila, and at the same time, very coachable yung mga players. So, importante yan for the chemistry. And of course, you have to consider na sa lahat ng mga teams, kailangan may ma-establish ka na leadership.
And it looks like his gamble paid off.
But Alaska had more firepower elsewhere. There was Jeff Carriazo, the 6th overall pick of the 1995 PBA draft, who went on to win Rookie of the Year honors. Also on board was big man Poch Junio, who was hailed the most improved player in 1996, and Jun Reyes was named Mr. Quality Minutes the same year.
Yung key kasi ng Alaska team, yung Grand Slam team, was their depth. Yes, you have the eventual MVP in Johnny Abarientos, Jolas, the clutch scorer, Bong Hawkins, yung Swiss Army knife nila no, na who could do everything on the floor. But the key for that team was guys like Jeffrey Carriazo entering his 2nd year in the PBA, already such a dynamic player, whether as a starter or off the bench. Malaki yung kanyang inaambag sa team. And then also on the bench were guys like Jun Reyes, a quality backup point guard. And then also, I think in the offseason, that's when Alaska also picked up Kevin Ramas. At saka yung nakakadagdag din ng depth off the bench for Alaska, you know, guy who's willing to do the dirty work, to rebound, to defend, to box out, hindi kailangan ng points. One of the most underrated parts of that team was the center, was Poch Junio. Si Winyo kasi hindi siya yung, obviously wala siya sa level ng mga Benji Paras, diba, yung mga Marlo Aquino nung mga panahon na yan. But Winyo was really coming into his own, and he was becoming a very dependable player, willing to rebound and could even space the floor a little bit. Meron din siyang mid-range jumper nung mga panahon na yan. So it was that versatility. Yun yung versatility na idadala ng mga role players ika nga ng Alaska. And of course, you have shooters like sila Ruel Gomez, yung mga maaasahan mula sa labas.
And in a season where 2 of 3 conferences required an import, the value of a certain California native named Sean Chambers could not be understated.
We already have a relationship with Sean from the very beginning. Siya yung import na madali din ka pakisamahan because masipag siya. At alam niya na may mga limitations din siya, just like us, na hindi siya yung tipong import na sobrang galing na dumating dito galing sa NBA. Feeling niya, hindi siya kailangan magtrabaho. Si Sean, on the other hand, parang every practice na nandun siya, parang gusto niyang ipakita na he deserves to be there.
Coaching the team was none other than Tim Cohn, who had been coaching the franchise since 1989.
Any coach in any league, the team will only follow what the coach would like to have in a particular team. Kung anong character gusto niya, responsible din yung coach 100%.
Nothing there, and a chance for Alaska to have the final say in the half. Carriazo has that in mind. Hamilton with a follow.
Success stories are often stories of great failures at first. But this rang true for Alaska, who fell short again and again before winning it all in 1996.
Look at this, Sunkist will emerge as the champion of the second conference and will emerge as a back-to-back titleist. And the Grand Slam dream remains very much alive.
The Milkmen made the finals 4 straight times, from 1984 to the 1995 Commissioner's Cup. And in that span, they won only once.
It was all about the timing for Alaska. Yes, the players were coming, but they needed that experience. They needed to go through the growing pains of losing to quality teams like Sunkist para matuto sila how to win. But when they were eventually ready to win, similar to the Alaska Aces, there was nothing stopping them from getting championship after championship.
And the ball was snatched from behind. Pick and roll play between Johnny and Bob Hawkins. Let's see the long distance shot here.
But the turning point was the 1995 Governor's Cup. At that point, Alaska had lost in the finals twice to Sunkist, which was 1 title away from a Grand Slam. Sunkist, however, did not have enough juice to go all the way in the last conference. It was San Miguel who faced Alaska in the finals.
Ang perception ko dyan was that the 1995 Governor's Cup made them go beyond the hump that they were in, no? Kasi nga, sabi ko nga, no 1995, pareho sila second place in the first 2 conferences. And then in 1995, in the final conference of the 1995 season, they won over San Miguel. What happened was, I think the crucial part of that particular stretch was that Alaska was able to build on their confidence, no?
Outside to Jolas.
Alaska-San Miguel series was a hard-fought one, but in the end, the Milkmen prevailed. After staring at a 2-3 deficit, Alaska won the last 2 games to secure the Governor's Cup title and eventually set their Grand Slam bid in motion.
Their crowd, which they won last year. And there they are, enjoying the moment.
Some offensive space.
Ang nangyari, because he went for the steal, tumama siya sa braso ni Carriazo. While people would say that dapat hindi na tinawag yung foul niya because it was incidental and it was only 0.6 seconds left, I think the referees made the right call. Well, there was contact. They made that particular call, which led to Jeff Carriazo going to the free throw line for 2 shots.
Four of the 5 Grand Slam teams have one thing in common: a title before the first conference of their Grand Slam season. And this was also the case for Alaska, which drew its momentum from its championship run in the 1995 Governor's Cup to get things started in 1996.
Here's Orbitz working on Johnny, manages to deflect the pass. It hits it. Alaska trying to be more patient, swinging the ball around. Good shot. Lastimosa against Meneses. That has been the duel. Inside toss, and Alaska's been hurt by 2 turnovers already.
Alaska wasn't dominant right off the bat, though.
I think Alaska can only keep knocking on the door so many times to get this thing down to 6.
The Milkmen went 4-3 in the first round of the eliminations, but won 6 of the last 7 games to emerge on top.
Nasa kamay ni Johnny Abarientos. Siyang bahala sa fast break. Binigay kay Hawkins. Kalmang-kalma. Away of the mark. Pass.
In the semifinals, Alaska lost the first 4 games before recovering enough to finish second.
Alaska hoping to gain an outright finals berth with a win here.
And in the playoffs for the second final seat, the Milkmen thwarted Ginebra to book a final showdown with Pure Foods.
And he's drawing the big man outside with him. Inside operation, yes!
Short Races Pure Foods was a very capable team led by Alvin Patrimonio, then a 3-time MVP, as well as Jericho Deniera, Ray Evangelista, Glenn Capasio, Dindo Pomaren, Olsen Racela, Ruben De La Rosa, and Bong Ravena.
Sigawan ni Bong Hawkins, pero nakuha na naman ni Johnny! Roger Lastimosa, sumaksak sa loob, nakita si Bong Hawkins, libre!
But in the finals, Alaska held steady and beat the TJ Hot Dogs in 5 games. The Milkmen sealed the deal in a Game 5 overtime thriller with the help of Jeff Carriazo. Jojo Lastimosa was named Finals MVP of the series.
Alaska had the ball, inbounding the ball. June Reyes was the designated inbounder. Ang nangyari, nung pinasa niya kay Jeff Carriazo, for whatever reason, even I think Shot Reyes was dumbfounded when this happened, no? Ravena went for the steal, despite the fact that the Pure Foods was ahead, 92-91. Ang nangyari, because he went for the steal, tumama siya sa braso ni Carriazo. While people would say that dapat nila tinawag yung foul niya because it was incidental and it was only 0.6 seconds left, I think the referees made the right call. Well, there was contact. They made that particular call, which led to Jeff Carriazo going to the free throw line for 2 shots.
I remember being in tears because I did not want Alaska to get to overtime dahil kaya silang talunin ng Pure Foods. I give all the credit in the world to Alaska because imagine if you're Jeffrey Carriazo, you're stepping on the free throw line, 0.6 of a second left in the game, second year mo pa lang sa PBA, and it's 3-1. If Pure Foods wins that game, it becomes 3-2, and hindi mo na alam yung momentum lilipat na sa side ng Pure Foods. So the fact that he was able to sink those 2 free throws and then nagkaroon na ng chaos afterwards, it was the defining moment ng Alaska GrandSlam. I just remember the drama was so high that kids like me were already crying because ito na ba? Parang ano bang mangyari sa Alaska, di ba? Matatalo ba nila yung Pure Foods? But yeah, that was just a defining moment in the Alaska era. And hanggang ngayon, Coach Jeffrey Carriazo still talks about that as probably the peak of his career nung nag-Grand Slam sila nung 1996.
Alaska, 1996, our Filipino Cup champions! Oh boy! What a way to end it!
The Flying Ace sees a bit of daylight and capitalized on it.
Alaska moved on in search of another title in the Commissioner's Cup, where the team faced the league in the eliminations in the semifinals. That dominance, however, was overshadowed with the exit of Alaska import Derek Hamilton, who failed the PBA's drug test.
Si Derek Hamilton, before he was suspended indefinitely by the PBA, was one of the most exciting, one of the most athletic, and one of the most impactful imports that the PBA had ever seen. And I think that kung hindi siya na-suspend, I don't think there's any doubt that Alaska would have won that championship. He was that good. Unfortunately nga, he was caught with traces of illegal substances dun sa urina during the semifinals, and then he had to be removed permanently from the team.
But Hamilton's unceremonious departure became a blessing in disguise for Alaska, which tapped the services of resident import Sean Chambers. Chambers, however, was undersized and stood 4 inches shorter than the 6'4" Kenny Redfield, the best import awardee who bannered the title-contending Formula Shell.
Kenny Redfield of Shell was around 3 or 4 inches taller than Chambers because that was a conference where you could get bigger imports, yung Commissioner's Cup. But what you always loved about Chambers was his consistency, was the fact that he memorized already the system of Alaska inside and out. Para na lang siyang piyesa na isasalpak mo lang sa makina. Kahit na hindi siya brand new, subok na subok pa rin, di ba? Because it works perfectly with the rest of the machine. And for Alaska, it was a stroke of genius na hindi na sila naghanap ng bagong import kasi semifinals to eh. Napakahirap kung meron kang bagong ipapasok sa lineup, lalo na triangle offense yung pinapatakbo ni Coach Tim Cone, di ba? So, Chambers, yes, they had to sacrifice height, they had to sacrifice maybe a few games getting him in condition, but they were able to do it, and that's just a testament to Chambers.
Sean Chambers was already in town back then, no? Kasi ang nangyari noon, he was already preparing for the next conference, for the Governor's Cup, where the height limit was 6'2". So parang hindi siya yung kinuha ng Alaska for the Commissioner's Cup kasi 6'6" nga yung height limit doon. So baka naman masyadong undersized si Chambers. Kennedy Redfield played 1, 2, 3 positions. Chambers had the edge, basically. So if you put Chambers and replace that with Hamilton, all of a sudden, meron kang problema ngayon kung paano babantayan si Chambers sa poste.
Shell bucked a slow start in the eliminations and eventually barged into the finals thanks to Redfield's game winner versus Ginebra.
What happened was Henry James was blocked by Benji Paras and there was still, I think, 3 seconds sa shot clock nung nakuha ng Shell yung bola at binigay kay Kenny Redfield who decided to hoist it up for 35 feet beyond the arc and it was able to score off the bank. Now, pumasok ang Shell sa finals against Alaska. Many thought that it was a given already. Alaska had a decisive advantage. No matter how good Kenny Redfield was.
Okay. Scramble, yes! In the hands of Marcel and Shell.
Shell drew first blood in Game 1, but both teams exchanged wins until Game 5, when Alaska took a 3-2 series lead by a 7-point win.
Barrientos from the side. Yes, that's it.
Alaska had a chance to finish the series in Game 6, but Richie Tixon kept Shell alive.
Without question. And even in interviews, players on Alaska said, kaya pa ba natin mag-championship dito? Kasi mahirap na pag meron kang makakatapat na team that feels like it's their destiny to win a championship. And for Shell, an underdog story, everyone loved this team. Everyone was cheering for them aside from Alaska fans. All the pressure was on Alaska because they won the championship. They had an opportunity to win the Commissioner's Cup, go back-to-back.
Bringing the ball up. Ito na. Tixon to Redfield. Tixon lets it fly. Yes! Oh, yes! 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 Richie Tixon!
So Shell was playing as if, di kung matatalo kami, okay lang sa amin, walang pressure sa amin. Pero mahirap kasi sa Game 7. When you get to a Game 7, it really boils down to execution and playing under pressure. And that's where Alaska was able to really stamp their class on Shell. Because they played with poise, they played with maturity, because they had already been in that situation before. They already had been there, they already knew what it would take to beat a team and win a championship. That's what a lot of young teams don't know how to do yet, is to beat teams consistently and repeatedly and on a high scale.
This is the day you've been waiting for, the final game. Game 7, winner take all, the Commissioner's Cup Conference Finals.
Yet Alaska soldiered on in Game 7, where they survived a late comeback by Shell behind crucial shots from Bong Hawkins and Jojo Lastimosa down the stretch. Hawkins bagged the finals MVP award as Alaska completed its Commissioner's Cup campaign with a flourish.
Prior to Game 6, with Alaska ahead 3-2, Coach Tim Cone already predicted that they will win the series that night in Game 6. So, ang description nga niya was like, we are like sharks. When we smell blood, we go for it. And then, when Shell won, Coach Chito Narvasa of Shell retaliated by saying, well, if they are sharks, we are like dolphins. We drive away the sharks. So that was a very funny, memorable quote that was given by both coaches in that particular series, which is really a testament to the kind of rivalry that these two teams had in that particular series.
And Alaska will win a championship. They will take home the Commissioner's Cup trophy.
The Shell series was a grueling one, but it was all worth it for the Milkmen, who moved just one championship away from that rare Grand Slam. But only one hurdle remained.
After grinding their way to a pair of titles in the first two conferences, the Alaska Milkmen were now primed for a Grand Slam. They needed just one more trophy. But the 1996 Governor's Cup did not start off smoothly for Alaska.
Talks of a Grand Slam surrounded Alaska, even though members of the team themselves did not openly discuss going for that rare feat. Early on in the Governor's Cup, Alaska's results did not exactly live up to the hype. The Milkmen were in a sorry state, managing to win just 1 of 4 games. But Alaska eventually flipped the switch.
Alaska struggled in the Governor's Cup to start the season, diba? They were losing games back and forth before eventually racking up a winning streak to get into the playoffs. But there was a lot of uncertainty, and wala naman nagbago sa lineup ng Alaska. It was still the same team, but nakakapagod eh. Nakakapagod talaga manalo on a consistent basis. That's why you hardly see any Grand Slam teams. Halos isa lang kada dekada yung nakakakuha ng Grand Slam. So, yes, there was definitely questions about if Alaska could do it. But all Alaska needed to do was get into the playoffs. All they needed to do was put themselves in a position to still be there in the semis and eventually in the finals. And I think if they got there, dun mabubuhayan yung kanilang beliefs sa sarili na kaya pa nila makuha yung kampiyonato.
The difference felt like night and day. Alaska won the next 13 games on their way to the finals. The Milkmen topped the elimination round with an 8-3 record before sweeping Shell in 3 semis games.
Ultimately, ang nangyari na lang talaga dyan is the team just couldn't do anything wrong. The team knew each other very well. They had perfect chemistry. Their triangle offense was clicking, and they had the best defense basically in the league at that time. Everything was seamless. Everything was perfect, no? And the players were at the peaks of their respective career, no? You had Jojo doing very well at clutch moments, and even during regular games, no? You have Bong Hawkins there, who was dominant inside the paint, and then you had Johnny leading at that point in time. He was already the best point guard in the PBA. Everything was just falling to its place.
Ito yung last play ni Johnny Abarrietos. Nakawala po kay Derek Rucker.
The sheer dominance of Alaska stretched into the finals versus Ginebra, which simply could not deny the Milkmen their date with destiny.
6 turnovers by Ginebra San Miguel in the third period. Yep. And a nice steal.
Johnny Abarrietos again on the ball. Bong Hawkins!
A beautiful dish by Johnny Abarrietos.
Alaska eventually dispatched the crowd favorites in 5 games.
Kanina, nagyayakapan po si Bong Hawkins at si Jojo Lastimosa. Nakita niyo si Sonny Jaworski. Lumapit na kay Coach Steve Brown. At Alaska Milk wins the Governor's Cup for 1996.
And it is now in the history books as only the 3rd franchise in PBA history to capture a Grand Slam.
Johnny Abarrietos, who led the Milkmen in the closeout game, took home his first finals MVP trophy. The Milkmen in 1996 now owned the league's 4th Grand Slam, joining Crispa in 1976, in 73, and San Miguel in 1989. Alaska's players also achieved individual glory. Johnny Abarrietos won the Most Valuable Player trophy and was named to the mythical first team along with Jojo Lastimosa and Bong Hawkins. Poch Junio won the Most Improved Player award, while Jun Reyes earned the Mr. Quality Minutes distinction. Alaska remained competitive in the coming years and even came close to a second Grand Slam.
He struggled in Game 5 and he gets his first basket. He does the game number 6.
After winning the 1997 Governor's Cup, Alaska went on to win 2 more in 1998 after beating San Miguel back-to-back in the All-Filipino and Commissioner's Cup.
Well, Noy, now you see what it's like to win a championship in the PBA.
Only a loftier goal and a bigger cause stopped Alaska from rewriting history.
In the third conference, unfortunately, nasabay yan sa Asian Games in 1998 that was held in Bangkok. Doon nabuo yung Centennial team. And that Centennial team forced Alaska to give up key players, no? Johnny, Jojo, Kenneth, So yung players na yon hindi makakalaro sa last conference. So imagine the difficulty that Alaska would have to go through. Sure, they brought in Sean Chambers and another import at that time kasi nga dahil sa nawalan nga ng mga players because of the national team.
When you go back to 1998, it is underrated the sacrifice that Alaska did para sa bayan. I'm not saying this just because, I was an Alaska fan in that day, but they gave up Jojo Lastimosa, Johnny Abarientos, and they gave up Kenneth Duremdes, who was sobrang galing ni Duremdes. Kahit di siya naglaro nung third conference, MVP pa rin siya. Ganong kalupit si Duremdes nung season na yan. And they gave up Coach Timpo. I don't think anyone believes otherwise. And in saying that if Alaska had kept that lineup intact, that they wouldn't have won that Grand Slam again. So the fact that they chose to sacrifice a season in order to put together the best possible squad, it's really a testament to what Alaska was willing to do para sa bayan.
Members of the 1996 Grand Slam team would end up having incredible careers when all was said and done. Abarientos retired as a 12-time champion, the all-time leader in steals, and a member of the 25 greatest players list. Lastimosa is 7th all-time in points, a 10-time All-Star, and a 10-time champion. Bong Hawkins also had 10 titles to his name. Carriazo went on to win 8 championships and won a Finals MVP award in 2003. Today, he's a head coach of the same Alaska franchise he played for. Tim Cohn is still coaching and has now won the most titles in PBA history with 23, including a second Grand Slam in the year 2014.
What Alaska had was a team that prided itself on being a team. It was not about any superstars on that squad. And not all teams that run the triangle offense are going to be successful. It takes the perfect mix of players, obviously with talent, but also players who are willing to do their roles even if they do not get the glory. And I think that's what made Alaska a Grand Slam team.
Para sa akin, I think it's something else. It's just an honor to be in a team that was able to accomplish that feat. Kasi kukonti nga lang kung merong 10 teams na Grand Slam, then para sa akin parang wala nang say dahil ang dami na nakagawa. So if there's something that you have accomplished na not a lot of teams have done, then it's an accomplishment. I think yung grupo na yun, it's gonna go down in history as one of the best teams that ever played the game, a team game.
Hawkins is open. Yes! Wala ka rin.
Hunger and an addiction to winning plus mental toughness. And these were just some of the elements behind the Alaska Milkmen's golden season. Jeffrey Carriazo once said in an interview, and since the year 1996, the team went on to capture more titles, eventually finding its place among the PBA's most decorated franchises. I'm Lourdes Vera, saying thanks for watching and saying drink your milk because milk is good for you. And this has been your Basketball Almanac.